Hi, Moneymakers. My name is Tahara, the Budget Coach. And on this channel, we are on a journey to financial independence. And we get there by monitoring our finances, increasing our income, and reducing our expenses. So today, I want to talk about getting right, getting right financially, and what that looks like for you as an individual. And only you.
Don't you wanna be free?
You know what it looks like to get right financially for yourself because personal finance is just that, it's personal, right? So, what do you have to do to get your money right, to feel right, to make sure you're paying all your bills on time, to make sure you're saving and investing for the future? For investments, whatever that looks like for you, whether that looks like real estate, whether that looks like stock, whether that looks like building a business, like putting money into that business to grow it, that all is, it just depends on you, what you want in your current circumstance, right? And so one circumstance might not look like the other, right? And so it just depends on what it looks like for you. Again, personal finance is personal. So I want to talk about some of the money goals that I have to give you an example of some of the goals that you may possibly could have, depending on upon your circumstances or your current conditions. And I'm going to talk about some of the goals that I've had in the past, right? But the most important thing that I want you to understand is yes, we have goals. But the thing is, if you do not put a real life action plan in place in order to achieve those goals, it's not even going to matter. It's not going to matter what goals you have if you don't have a plan in order to achieve those goals. So let's get to it. All right. So some of the goals that I have currently, and I wrote these down just this morning because I'm still working on my goals from the previous year. When I say previous year, I work on my goals from July to July. Like some people start at January and work on their goals throughout the year and then restart again in January. That's not me, only because when I first started investing a few short years ago, it was in July. So I always wanted to see how much I've accumulated from July to July. How much did I grow from last July to this July? So that's why my uh, timeline or my time frame is July for me to go ahead and set some goals. So my goals are going to again be reset in July, and I don't know exactly what they will be, but these are what I'm planning for. It sounds like a lot, so I might have to trim them down. All right, so first goal, number one for me is to stay debt free. Now, I was completely debt free in the past where I had no credit card debt, no car payment, no house payment, no anything. And I'm still debt free, so to speak. I'm going to call it that just to make myself feel better. But I right now have a mortgage. I still do not have a car payment, God willing, or I'm grateful to God for that, that I don't ever need one, right? And I do not have any credit card balances that I do not pay in full every month. So I'm good with that. And no student loans, all of that is done. I was debt free completely in November of 2020 and then acquired a mortgage, which I'll talk about later. But for now, I am debt free of everything except for a mortgage at this point in my life. And so for now, I want to stay that way. I do not want any more debt, not a credit card, not a car payment, not a nothing. And I'm claiming all of that in advance. So that is my goal, my number one goal, stay debt free. I don't want to have to owe anybody outside of this mortgage nothing, right? I don't want to have to owe anybody anything. So staying debt free, number one. So one thing that I'm going to do in order to continue to stay debt free, because I feel like if I were to get into debt, it would be because I needed a car, right? So right now, what I am doing is I am paying myself, saving $300 to $350. Some months more, depending upon if I get a bonus or something like that. 300 to 350 more dollars on in a car fund. So I am putting money, actively putting money every month, and I've been doing this for a couple years now, into a car fund. So that God forbid, if something happened to my car, I would just take a check and say, this is, I'm paying for this car in cash. And I'm trying to get to that point. I'm not exactly built up to where I need to be yet in order to be able to pay it out right in a car for a car, but I'm getting there. So that is going to be continuously on my goals list to get to $350 per month, where I'm continuously putting into this car fund so that when the time comes, I will be able to pay for it in cash. All right. So that's my car fund. What else am I doing to stay debt free? Have a 6 month emergency fund. Right now, my emergency fund is a little bit over 5 months. Trying to work towards that 6 month marks. We're completely 6 months of expenses inside of a savings account, right? So that is my goal. Again, a little bit over 5 months, but that's going to help me stay debt free. So, under stay debt free is build up a car fund and make sure my emergency fund is exactly where it needs to be in case I would need to use it. All right. Next thing is 200 per month for my kids. So continuously saving 100 a month for each of my kids is what I do now. And their savings and their investments. They don't have any savings. I took everything out of their savings and invested it for them. So continuously putting $100 a month per kid into their investments. And then for myself, my goal is to invest 25% of my income into my investments, right? So 25% of my income into my investments, not my savings, not my savings. I'm strictly talking about to invest so that that money can grow and build. When I'm talking about investments, I'm talking about my stocks, right? And my ETFs and mutual funds and things of that nature. So when I'm talking about investments, that's what I am doing. So those are my overall goals. Those are the goals that I'm shooting for. Oh, one more. Pay 2 extra mortgage payments a year. So for this year, pay 2 extra mortgage payments, right? So that's the last one. All right. So just to recap, stay free of debt. In order to do that, make sure that my emergency fund is at 6 months, currently over 5 months right now. $350 per month towards a car payment. Then make sure that I am doing 2 extra mortgage payments a year, 2 extra mortgage payments a year, 25% of my income invested, like literally invested into mutual funds, ETFs, and things of that nature, and $200 per month invested for each kid. So that's a lot. Sounds like a lot. Now, what I need to do now is if I wanted to move forward with this plan, which is what I really want to do, I need to make sure that the numbers actually work. Meaning, I have enough money to actually make sure that I can get this done. Because right now, I did, like I said, sketch out my goals this morning, but it seems like a lot. I will not know exactly until, again, I run the numbers. Based on my take home pay, do I have enough to do all of these things that I've talked about? That is the main question. That is the question that I need to make sure for myself. And so that's going to take a lot of homework, but I need to do that. We all do, right? Because if you have a plan that you're putting in place and it makes no sense because you don't have that much money coming in, then we got to make it reasonable and we have to make it make sense, right? We have to make sure that our living expenses are covered and then be able to put this plan that I have for myself in place. So um, that's my next step for this. Now, in terms of my past goals, I had some goals in the past that, I was able to exceed and move forward from. One of the past goals that I had was to become completely debt free. I never had any credit card debt, but I had student loans that I thought that I was going to have forever because they were like 65, 70,000. And I thought that I was going to have those hence. And so I thought that I was going to have those, I thought that I was going to have those loans forever, but I was able to pay those down and out through the grace of God, and that was done November 2020. So that was one of my goals to get debt free. At that time, when I started really becoming aggressive on my student loans, is when I paid off my car. So I paid off my car, and I was like, okay, I paid off my car. This extra can go towards my student loans now. And then I really started to really become aggressive, so aggressive that I took money out of my savings account in order to pay off the student loans. Because at that time, we were um, our expenses were much, much lower because we were in a different environment. So that was one of my goals in the past. Another one was my emergency fund. And before moving to our current location, I had an emergency fund of 1 year. So I was cool with that. I was able to build that up just basically by saving. Just basically by saving, right? I just took what I had coming in, was able to just sock it away. And my expenses were so low that I never had to really worry about paying any bills because that was low. But I'm gonna tell you right now I'm paying for my peace. And I'm fine with that. I'm paying for my peace. My expenses went up a great deal, probably like 3 or 4 times. And I ain't been upset about it yet. Because the peace that we sometimes have to pay for, it outweighs the smaller expense. And that's because, right now, in the job situation that I'm in, I'm able to pay that. And they may not be the case for everybody. You know what I mean? And just like I said, personal finance is first personal. Sometimes you may be willing to pay a little bit of extra for something because you have it. But then if you don't have it, that's a different situation. And we might have to like go back to the drawing board on that. But if you have it and you're able to pay a little bit of extra for certain situations or circumstances that might improve your overall quality of life, you got it, do it. Go for it. And so that's our situation right now. But with all of that being said, make sure that you have a plan. Not only do you have a plan, but make sure you know how you're going to execute on those plans because you can have all the plans in the world, but if you have no execution, then it doesn't matter, right? You need enough money to execute on your plan. So I would set a plan based on the current circumstances or situations or money that I have coming in, and then work on increasing your income. And as you're working on increasing your income and as your income is growing, then your plan can change. But have your goals. Make sure your plan matches the money, or even make sure your goals matches the amount of money that you have, right? And then plan accordingly. Of course, for any of us who need a plan, I am always here to support you. My name is Tahara, the budget coach, and listen, I will help you put your plans in place in order to reach your money goals. All right. See you later, money friends.